Picture it, 1988. Big hair, shoulder pads, and leg warmers were all the rage. Bon Jovi and Whitney Houston ruled the airwaves. We were introduced to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Rain Man cleaned up at the Oscars. Ah, simpler times, right? Well, not exactly, because lurking in the shadows of this neon-drenched decade, a digital storm was brewing. See, 1988 was also the year the internet, in its relative infancy, experienced its first major wake-up call. A wake-up call that came in the form of a self-replicating computer program, a digital gremlin, if you will. This gremlin wasn't here to make friends. It was about to show the world just how vulnerable this newfangled thing called the internet really was. Now you might be thinking, hold on, the internet in 1988, wasn't that just a bunch of scientists sending emails about their lunch orders? And you wouldn't be entirely wrong. Compared to the sprawling digital metropolis we know today, the internet back then was more like a sleepy suburban cul-de-sac. But hey, even sleepy suburbs can have their fair share of drama. And drama was certainly on the menu when a Cornell University graduate student named Robert Tappan Morris decided to unleash his creation upon the world. Robert Tappan Morris, a name that strikes fear and awe into the hearts of cybersecurity professionals even today. Now picture young Robert, a bright, albeit somewhat mischievous mind, with a penchant for pushing boundaries. This was a guy who, according to legend, once hacked into his high school's computer system to change his grades. Disclaimer, don't try this at home, kids, or at school for that matter. So it was perhaps no surprise that Robert found himself drawn to the burgeoning world of computer science. At Cornell University, he delved into the intricacies of operating systems, computer networks, and you guessed it, security vulnerabilities. It was here that he stumbled upon a fascinating flaw in the Unix operating system, a flaw that would become the catalyst for his infamous creation, the Morris worm. Now, legend has it that Robert's initial intention wasn't exactly to bring the internet to its knees. No, he claimed he merely wanted to gauge the size of the internet, a sort of digital census taker gone rogue. Of course, there are those who believe his motives were a tad more nefarious, but we'll leave that for the conspiracy theorists to debate over their tinfoil hats. Let's talk about the worm itself. Now, this wasn't your typical garden variety, earth-churning, bird-feeding kind of worm. This was a digital beast, a self-replicating program designed to burrow its way through computer networks, exploiting vulnerabilities and leaving a trail of digital chaos in its wake. Think of it like this. Imagine a mischievous ferret, hopped up on caffeine and sugar, let loose in a library. It's zipping around, knocking over bookshelves, chewing on manuscripts, and generally wreaking havoc. That's essentially what the Morris worm did, only instead of bookshelves, it was computer systems. And instead of chewed up manuscripts, it was crashed servers and lost data. The worm's modus operandi was simple, yet effective. It would exploit a vulnerability in the Unix SendMail program, a program used for, you guessed it, sending mail. Once inside a system, it would then scan for other vulnerable machines, replicating itself and spreading like digital wildfire. It was a classic case of good intentions, bad execution, or perhaps curiosity killed the internet. What started as a seemingly harmless experiment quickly spiraled out of control. The worm, replicating at an alarming rate, spread like wildfire through the interconnected networks that made up the internet of the time. Computers ground to a halt, overwhelmed by the sheer volume of traffic. Researchers watched in horror as their systems, normally humming with activity, fell silent, victims of the digital plague. Imagine a busy freeway suddenly jammed with thousands of identical cars, all trying to merge into the same lane. That's pretty much what happened to the internet. It was gridlock, pure and simple. And just like a real-life traffic jam, the effects were widespread and frustrating. Universities, government agencies, even military networks, all felt the worm's bite. It was a stark reminder that this newfangled information superhighway wasn't just about sharing research papers and sending electronic postcards. It was a powerful tool, but one that could be easily disrupted even by a single well-crafted piece of code.